The last time we spoke about belief, willpower, time, and the importance of living without those completely. And we spoke about how important it is to, or as part of that, we spoke about how important it is not to will oneself or cultivate an intention to go after understanding well-being and wellness in its various forms as a subject, as a separate topic that needs to be broken down into parts and learned through knowledge, through time, as what happens in a classroom. So we spoke that to understand ourselves and the world around us, and to bring order and peace in this world, within and without, a different approach is necessary. And we spoke about how wellness is a quality and not an industry as they have made it, that they have turned it into, especially those famous rock star gurus. That is not wellness, that is not well-being, that's a business. And whereas wellness is a quality that permeates everything the human hand touches. And so, if we may linger a little bit more on that, on what it means to the individual, to the everyday individual, the individual who wakes up in the morning, like you and I, and goes about one's day to earn a living, to provide for one's family, and to have joy in one's day, and have relationships with others, good relationships, etc. What does all of this mean to the individual, to the everyday man and everyday woman? To live without time, to live without belief, to live without willpower. Does that mean that one will not be able to provide for one's family, one will not be able to love, one will not be able to have joy? Or is it quite the opposite? I think it's the opposite. I think only when belief, time, willpower is put aside, put in the rightful place, can one live with joy. And one would not only be providing for one's family, but one would joyfully be providing for one's family. Because you see what happens these days. Everyone is busy and stressed and pressured to provide something for someone or for oneself. And all the while, this stress is getting to us, is getting to our spirits, is bringing us down, is making us reach the end of the day satisfied by ticking our list, ticking off our list, and saying, okay, I've done what I needed to do today. I didn't have the time to relax, I didn't have time to enjoy. But that will come later. At least I had some form of entertainment today. I had a nice drink, and that during that drink, I felt more relaxed. But then notice how, as the days go by, even those momentary breaks of entertainment, of escape, of drugs, of nicotine, of socializing, notice how that stress which we seem to collect day in, day out, accumulates week after week, and then it all becomes all too much at one point. Despite these momentary breaks of entertainment and these exotic vacations that we take. I think that's peculiar. And I think that goes to show that it's not working. We don't really have joy. We're not really enjoying our lives. And by joy, careful, I don't mean escape or drugs or endless sex or anything like that. But I mean inward joy, real joy. Joy that is not sold and bought in the market. Joy that is not a transactional affair among people. Because notice today relationships are merely transactional, most of them at least. I give you this, you give me that. And I don't think joy can be part of that. And I don't think joy can take place as long as our relationships are transactional. I think with the end of transactional affairs can joy begin. And so, unfortunately, we don't live with joy. We live with escape, we live with entertainment, we live with momentary breaks away from our jobs, responsibilities. We may laugh here and laugh there, we may celebrate occasions. But I'm afraid even those occasions are adding to our stress levels. But I think it's very possible that one will continue their day providing for one's family, very much a part of the society, and yet also live with joy completely. And then let that joy shape one's life. Let that joy operate in every part of one's life. Because I don't think life is, or a human life anyway is divided the way we think it might be. Professional life, sex life, social life, so on and so forth, political life. But rather I think life is one unitary movement, which we may never be able to grasp fully. And I think that's okay. Why do we need to grasp it fully? Why do we need to have an answer to how this world was created? Or how this world came to be? Why? And is it important to find an answer to that question? And why is it important to ask that question in the first place? And this doesn't mean that we are not curious about the world and how it operates. In fact, we are extremely curious on how to live on this beautiful planet with joy, with order, with peace, with tranquility. And therefore, we are extremely curious about living very differently. But I think a person with high spirits, with joy in their heart, would not really care about how this world came to be, and rather one would focus on how they spend their time on this earth, and what they are doing, and what they are leaving behind, and what they are doing to this planet, and giving to the next generation, and what they are receiving and not receiving from their ancestors. I think this is what a joyful person would do. And that joyful person would do what must be done in this, terrible society that we are unfortunately living in and sustaining. A joyful person would still understand that bills need to be paid and children sent to school or provided education in some form. But I don't think that would bring one down. Relationships might change with joy in one's heart, and I think that should be fine. that should be fine. If a relationship must change, or if acquaintances or the people in one's life must change in the presence of joy, then let it. And so we're talking about putting belief, time, willpower in the rightful place, using them when needed. And they are going to be needed on a daily basis. There is no question about that. But also have our, it's not the right word. But also not identify with those things. Not let those things become one's center. Because that is what self-centeredness is. When belief and career, profession become so important and all important to us, they become our center. Not only they become our center, but the human, the individual, oneself or one starts having a center. So we're saying, what we're talking about is the possibility of living and being without a center. Not merely replacing one center with something else. Removing career, belief, identity, etc. Replacing that center with another center. A center of goodness, a center of love, etc. We're talking about the possibility to live without a center at all, because I think that is what self-centeredness is. The issue with self-centeredness is not the object of self-centeredness. It is not about what we are self-centered about. It is the fact or the issue that there's a self and there's a center. The self is the center. Okay, to put it easily, as long as there is identity, belief, time, etc., then there is a self. And therefore, we're talking about the possibility of living without a self at all, ladies and gentlemen. This is, I think, what it means to the individual, or for the individual. To live without willpower is to live without a self. To live without time is to live without a self. To live without belief is to live without a self. Without a center. And in the absence of a center, obviously there is no identification with anything, because not only is there the absence of the object that we address our centeredness towards, but also there's the absence of the center to begin with. And therefore there's no entity that identifies with an object. The whole subject itself, the whole human, the whole ego, the whole self as a subject itself is absent. But please, do not conjure ideas about this. Do not, because we've done this. The rock star gurus do this all the time. Some of them say, there is no self. I am nothing. And then, that becomes a mantra, that becomes a mantra, a sutra, a way of life, or a non-path, and then, $1 million business is formed around that. and you go on following that guru as you live a life full of addiction, affliction, and dependency, and mediocrity. Now, this is not what we're talking about.